So, I don't know if you've noticed, but witches kind of have an appeal for me. I just did a 2-part video on how Charmed was the greatest, Buffy 2 was very formative, and you can probably guess that Willow was my favourite.
I'm a rebel. I'm having a rebellion.
The craft had such a subtle impact on me over the years that I'm currently developing a script that's basically an Irish remake.
Relax, it's only magic.
But where did this obsession come from? Shall we dive deep down into my Freudian past and get to the root of this cackling, broomstick-riding, pointy-hatted fascination?
Oh, I'm normal! Gotta go tell the cat.
Can we please just talk about how great this sitcom was?
Harvey thought the jumping beans were jelly beans and he ate some and flew out the door, and I think I'm the beanstalk. He's gonna suspect something.
For those too young and innocent to know, we can actually thank Archie Comics for giving us far more than one of the most nightmarishly awful yet hilarious CW dramas ever made.
Chalk went up to the power of positive thinking.
Sabrina Spellman debuted in 1962, a fully grown teenager accidentally created by witches Hilda and Zelda. She was intended as a one-off character, but of course, her unexpected popularity led to her own comic, and eventually an animated series.
You'll see her tug her ear, and you'll see her disappear.
Although the comic ended in 1983, Sabrina did still make a few guest appearances in the Archie universe. Then we get to the 90s.
My history teacher.
Melissa Joan Hart was a child star who had literally been acting since she was 4 in various commercials and off-Broadway plays.
I kind of forgot it.
Her breakout came in 1991, when she was cast in the title role of the sitcom Clarissa Explains It All.
Some kids have all the luck.
An instant success that ran for 4 seasons, it was also notable for breaking gender barriers.
Embarrassment is my least favorite emotion.
The 80s in particular had enforced very strict divides on what children's shows were for boys and girls, but Clarissa was able to be led by a female protagonist and touch on female issues while still appealing to boys too. You have to remember that even up until the mid-2010s, it was a widely held belief that female-driven media just didn't sell.
And to have a girl lead was sort of rare at the time still.
Clarissa was able to transcend those barriers and demonstrate that young boys could relate to a female character.
Wow, tell your aunt she's great taste in straight jackets.
When the show ended in 1994, Melissa was now 19 and a legal adult, and as many former child stars are loath to do, she wanted to pursue maturer and more adult roles, until her mother Paula stepped in.
She had started managing my career right after Clarissa because she didn't like the offers I was getting after Clarissa. She didn't like the direction. She's like, she was known on a kid's show and now you want to throw her in these adult roles.
Having been her daughter's manager, and a producer in her own right, Paula knew that Clarissa's popularity meant there was a demographic of male and female children they'd be fools not to market to.
My mother was handed a comic book on a playground in New York City, and it was the Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which was an Archie comic. And they said, we think this would be a great next role for Melissa.
And first came a 90-minute pilot movie on the Showtime network that stuck a little closer to the comics and was more practical magic in tone. And hey there, Ryan Reynolds, bring back that blonde hair someday. This was enough proof of concept to get Sabrina picked up by the ABC network, although the sitcom had no continuity with the film.
What do you mean I'm a witch?
You're a witch.
It made many changes to Sabrina's situation and backstory.
Actually, your mom's mortal. You see, that's why you're here, so that we can teach you to use your magic.
Rather than being the result of a potion gone wrong, Sabrina was now the child of a witch-mortal union, making her only half a witch, and unaware of this until her powers activate on her 16th birthday.
Now, you're not alone. I'm a witch, Hilda's a witch, your father's a witch.
Hilda and Zelda were now her biological aunts, with more contemporary appearances, and their personalities swapped around, Hilda becoming easygoing and fun-loving, and Zelda becoming smart and responsible.
I object.
On what grounds?
On the grounds that you're mean.
Salem went from a house pet who couldn't talk to a former witch turned into a cat as punishment for trying to take over the world.
Trust me, being a house pet wasn't even plan B.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch was an instant success, running for 4 seasons on ABC, and even surviving cancellation when UPN picked it up for 3 more.
Well, you know, if you feel like cleaning up a little before I get back, don't you dare!
The network shift was also accompanied by a change in tone, possibly in the hopes of appearing more mature.
I'm so sorry, Aunt Hilda. Just because of me, you might end up childless and miserable the rest of your life. Oh, way to cheer her up!
I'm going to abandon my facade of being balanced to state that the 5th season is just awful, and while the 6th and 7th are slightly better, I tend to only rewatch the high school years. Roxy was a fun character though, and I did love Barbara Eden.
Huzzah, milady! I am your humble servant.
Silence, you talking throw rug.
But now, the gushing can properly begin. Season 1 is an obvious example of a show trying to find its feet.
You know, I saw you singing in the mirror.
Like the first years of Buffy and Charmed, it's working out how to tell its stories effectively. There are times where it feels like it's not sure if it should be closer to an offbeat slice of life with some comedy moments, or out-and-out slapstick. And the amount of golden moments and overall moralizing is surprising.
This Halloween, stay home with your loved ones.
But there are definitely solid foundations on which a strong setup can be built, and the season grows stronger the further it progresses.
You're in a chat room again pretending to be a woman, aren't you?
I like the attention.
The characters are all solid archetypes that mix well together.
You were listening? I have no privacy in this house!
Sabrina is a normal late 90s teenage girl who is excited about fashion, boys, and male celebrities, balancing being school-conscious with being adventurous and impulsive, shy enough about fitting in to be relatable, but also being indulgently escapist.
Forgot your hat. And you forgot you're a goat. Now, go climb a mountain.
You could fancy her and still want to be her.
I don't know whether to get funky or go fly fishing.
As Melissa Joan Hart was able to do in Clarissa, Sabrina was a perfect balance of tomboyishness and girliness without alienating either side. And one of the reasons the series continues to be popular with newer generations is that Sabrina's characterization and issues are timeless.
You can go, but don't stay out past 1, and you can't wear those boots.
This extends to the rest of the cast.
So far, every man we know is either married, busy, or disgusting.
Several were all three.
The aunts get to be independent and intelligent, as well as funny and fallible.
This is a problem. Have you considered running away from it?
Hilda is the more easygoing, somewhat childish sister, but still able to be helpful and useful, while also getting to have ambitions outside convention. How many times do you get to see the goofiest character also be a classically trained musician looking for respect, and later buying her own businesses?
You know, I'm sorry, Sabrina, I'd love to help you, but I've got to go flip the mattresses.
Hell, a 2018 trend was the hashtag I grew up to be Aunt Hilda.
So hard to be young.
I know, but I think I handle it pretty well.
Zelda, too, was the stricter and more responsible character without being pigeonholed into the boring one.
Your wig looks silly.
Sabrina, that's not what I meant when I said grovel.
A passionate scientist who could be both witty and desirable, as well as getting sucked into the wackiness too.
Almost across the channel. I can see Calais.
And the comic relief animal sidekick being the most beloved character in the series.
A tassel. Don't die with me, you saucy minx.
Also, getting the personality of a cat just spot on.
Hey, dogs guard, cats watch, and judge.
Outside of the Spellmans, you get fun antagonists too.
You know, why don't you surprise us all by changing and doing something good and kind for once? Why mess with success?
The popular mean cheerleader is hysterical, and so shameless in her villainy that... Remember when she used to have a trope named after her?
There's a spell.
And since we're talking about Libby, while she is a high school archetype, she's not an airhead, not particularly richer than anyone else, legitimately talented at certain things, and has political aspirations. And hey, one episode has Sabrina turning Libby into a geek to teach her a lesson, and she continues to be a bully, effectively subverting the cheerleader equals evil trope.
I told you to stay home today.
These unique touches make for a memorable character you love to hate, and Jenna Lee Green is just...
Oh, I think I speak for all of us. Ew.
And even within Sabrina's rotating circle of best friends who come and go because of drama in the writer's room, the three we get are all memorable in their own way.
Jenny, are you okay?
Yes, my hair broke my fall.
Confident nonconformist who's also kind and supportive with her own guilty pleasures.
If I'm her weird friend, I must be really weird.
Insecure wannabe who's still smart, capable, and caring.
Well, try to focus. I have to pass the test for my witch's license. Right.
Okay, Dreamer was wasted potential, but she was a bright spot in season 4. Valerie is the best though, and that's just not up for debate.
I get dizzy, I sweat profusely, and I babble incoherently. Much like I'm doing now.
Sabrina's long-term boyfriend Harvey is also a refreshing ball of, well, refreshment, especially when put into comparison with this fiend the show wasted 2 seasons trying to force her with.
You're dead to me, Sabrina.
But unlike Josh, Harvey was a wholesome character who was pretty unusual in terms of the show's most prominent male.
It didn't work! She's not melting!
Take Buffy, which premiered around the same time and also featured a supernaturally powered blonde teenager. Its most prominent male lead was also not the typical macho jock, but he was just the worst, and the show seemed more concerned with making fun of his emasculation. Harvey has very little of that.
I don't have to dress like this forever, do I?
No, just until you vanquish the troll.
I couldn't vanquish the troll in pants?
Sabrina was the heroine who did the cool things, and Harvey served her story, while still occasionally getting to have adventures too.
Sabrina, what do I do?
Draw your sword.
Now what do I do?
Use it.
Besides having interesting spins on usual archetypes, the writing was just really creative.
My aim is true.
I'm a sucker for a parody that still maintains an affectionate feeling of fun, and that was Sabrina's main approach.
I can't believe I ever forgot you.
I don't blame you. I blame the latter.
Most of the following are among my favorite episodes.
You're going down, Spellman, and I'm taking you with me.
Soap operas, fairy tales, the Salem witch trials, and later seasons went with murder mysteries, spy fiction, and silent movies. This one was just brilliant. The second and third seasons, when Sabrina was at its peak, show a series that started off strong and just got even stronger. And not just because they got a better puppet for Salem.
This is so humiliating.
I'm wearing pantaloons.
It can be very hard to elaborate on just why good comedy writing is so good, but that's pretty much it.
It's pronounced Hyrexine.
Great. It's the biggest night of Zelda's scientific career, and she has the verbal skills of a potato.
It's pronounced potato.
The fantasy setting lent itself to lots of creative situations, in addition to supernatural metaphors for teen issues. I mean, accidentally buying talking furniture just as you're about to throw a party?
You just relax, dear.
Creepy.
Starting rumors that actually come true in hilarious ways.
I want that cat to wake up with a mouse head in his bed. Of course, Godfather. And second thought, bring me the mouse head.
Getting trapped in your bully's brain and escaping by...
And since many people are allergic to...
No!
Oh, gross.
The writing just holds up very well.
Breaker, breaker. This is Kitchen Mama calling. Sabrina, what do you want your handle to be?
And Hilda.
Okay. And Hilda?
And by season 2, the cast are all rock solid.
Maybe that's my biggest fear. No, it's people jumping out from behind trees.
Melissa Joan Hart's experience with sitcoms serves her well, as does Caroline Ray's stand-up background.
Hilda, how was the movie?
I laughed, I cried. You're in big trouble.
Oh, what about Mr. Kraft? I mean, did you put him under a spell?
No, fortunately, he passed out from terror.
Beth Broderick catches the right blend of playing the straight man while also being very funny in her own right.
You know very well that Sleeping Beauty spells are illegal. Ever since, well, Sleeping Beauty.
And Nick Bakay's work as Salem.
Oh, curse my sarcastic nature.
Let's be honest, this is Muppets level skill at play here.
Don't hate me. I only did it because I love you.
There's a reason this is the show's most beloved character.
Salem and I are clogging. Good night.
I'd appreciate it if you didn't imply that I clog.
I also feel I have to praise the work of Mary Gross, who joined season 2 as Mrs. Quick.
Keep her away from me. She has poison.
I don't even have gum.
I just love this character.
The psychic was right. I was separated at birth.
I'm not usually one to go on about special guest stars, but this was a show that knew how to use them.
Do you mind if I take off my jacket and pants?
Your pants?
Yes, well, don't worry. I'm wearing a 4-piece suit.
Raquel Welch is so memorable that I forgot Aunt Vesta was only in one episode. The Backstreet Boys cameoing as people who only got their talent by magic. Brittany is better here than in the entirety of Crossroads.
Maybe that's why I've been having these weird one-on-one dreams so often. They drive me crazy.
One of my favorite wrestlers was put to good use.
I'm so glad I spent 3 hours doing my hair.
RuPaul needs no elaboration.
Are we in the neighborhood?
No, it's horrible.
Voice acting royalty Tara Strong plays 2 beloved characters. If only we could have had Gwen in the main series.
Oh, well, in my defense, I didn't say I was good. I just said I was better.
And this is the best episode of the whole show, largely thanks to the inspired choice of...
I don't like fast food.
The Wicked Witch, eh?
It's the Wicked Witch.
Wicked, but she's so pretty.
Oh, she's had a lot of work done.
Seasons 2 and 3 show the heights a fantasy comedy can hit when the sitcom formula is followed well and utilizes all the other ingredients.
I look like a Victrola.
Good idea. Then we won't have to listen to you complain.
The quality of the writing, direction, and performances are enough to overlook some of the quaint late 90s effects. And even then, we're still dealing with a very solid production design.
Oh, I'll wash, but I'll never be clean.
These first 3 seasons are the main reason fans keep coming back to Sabrina after it's been on the air 20 plus years.
I'd love to, but I really have to get home. I have a black belt in 24 disciplines of Oriental martial arts. Then clearly I'm coming with you.
Season 4 sees the brilliance fade quite a bit with the departures of Libby and Valerie, among other things, but there's still plenty to enjoy. And as much as I despise Josh and the attempts at being more mature in Season 5, there are some very watchable episodes in there.
Shame on you. You're a married man.
He's married?
Of course. To the Bride of Frankenstein.
Even if you only rewatch the high school seasons, I found that continually going back just means you find more to love rather than get tired of. And that's pretty important too.
Harvey, I love you.
Really? Cool.
Very cool.
In a 2011 article for America magazine titled Why Sitcoms Matter, Jake Martin wrote something that finally made me have my own eureka moment. The sitcom slowly, almost imperceptibly, invites the audience to become part of its constructed community. What makes this model of relationship possible is the accessibility of the comedic character, and, more significantly, the permission comedy gives us to acknowledge and accept our own failures, and even sinfulness. The sitcom, therefore, can be an unlikely vehicle for the development of self-awareness and self-acceptance. Viewers observe and identify particular aspects of their own flawed nature in the on-screen characters, a nature made palatable by the humour and sheen with which it is delivered. I think that's why Sabrina the Teenage Witch was such a hit with audiences then and now.
You don't change people's personalities. And if you do, you don't mix it with caffeine.
I mean, it's not just the magic theme. There were other fantasy sitcoms greenlit alongside Sabrina, like Teen Angel and You Wish, that failed to last as long. And the UK's attempt at aping this formula will ever so briefly go there to highlight just when it doesn't work.
Can you hear me now?
Spellman, the strange mole-like creatures who live in the center of the earth can hear you.
The lead cast are almost perfectly accessible to child, teenage, and adult audiences, with the Spellman's relatability never affecting their escapism.
Since when do we have a periscope in the kitchen?
You've lived here 2 years, you never noticed it?
Teenagers.
Sabrina, Libby, Valerie, Jenny, Dreamer, and the aunts taught us dudes plenty about women without making us feel like we were watching a girl show. And maybe Salem and Harvey did the same for the gals.
She was wearing a house coat and eating cheese doodles. I had to look away.
I don't even own a house coat.
We have cheese doodles?
It could be heartfelt without being schmaltzy, and it could be funny without feeling mean-spirited.
What is my bra doing on the roof?
The squirrels need a nut feeder.
It could be ridiculous while making that part of the fun.
That's great, Aunt Hilda. Mom.
Did I even say what a stupid spell?
As an adult watching it, it has a charming innocence and yet a clever self-awareness.
Oh, look, your hair's down again. I guess everything eventually loses the battle with gravity.
I'm not saying it was a show that got universal love, and there are some elements I would change, particularly when Season 4 came around, but there's no denying it had extremely wide appeal.
What's the matter? Cat cut your tongue?
Imagine the grooming possibilities.
I'm always encountering someone new who was a fan of it in their childhood, and out of all my childhood shows, I feel I've rewatched Sabrina the most throughout life.
And denial is a river in Egypt.
I mean, when you happily go back to the same episodes multiple times in 3 different decades of your life and find something new to love on each rewatch...
Overdue library books. Let's go back to the living room.
Where did those policemen come from?
There's a donut shop upstairs.
And regardless of what the future holds and how far I even make it into this decade, one thing is absolutely certain. I will still be watching Sabrina.
I throw a great party.